16-0, 17-0, 18-0, 18-1. The 2007 Patriots became the first team to finish the regular season 16-0. They then went on to beat the Jags in the divisional and the Chargers in the AFC Championship. Now this loaded team with Tom Brady, the league MVP and first QB to throw for 50 touchdowns in a regular season, Randy Moss, who set the NFL single-season record for touchdowns with 23, and the rest of their loaded offense and defense needed one win to be coordinated the greatest team in all of American sports. And all that stood in their way was the underdog 10-6 Giants, who they beat Week 17 to advance to 16-0. David versus Goliath. And they lost. In heartbreaking fashion, the all-time great offense stalled all night as Brady was under heavy duress and knocked off his game. And the same defense that only allowed one touchdown in the last 10 quarters of play couldn't make that one last stop. So here we are, headed into the 2008 season. The band was back together for New England, and it was a quest for revenge. And according to Bleacher Report, the schedule was very light heading into the season, with the hardest teams being Indianapolis and San Diego, who they just beat in the AFC Championship game. Could they go 16-0 again? Could they actually win the Super Bowl? Will Randy Moss finally get his ring? Well, all of that was immediately shut down, as with 7:35 left in the first quarter of their Week 1 game versus Chiefs, Bernard Pollard speared into Tom Brady's left knee while Brady was unloading a deep ball to Randy Moss, which tore Brady's ACL, ending his season. The Patriots were devastated to say the least, but life moves on, and the Pats would trot out Matt Cassel for the rest of the 2008 campaign. The same Matt Cassel who hadn't started a football game since the year 2000, his senior year of high school, and here he was, 8 years later, filling in for the reigning NFL MVP. In college, he was never the starter as he rode the bench at USC behind Carson Palmer and then Matt Leinart. Yes, that is the same USC that went on a 34-game win streak from 2003 to 2006 with the likes of Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Pete Carroll, and more. But now it was time for the career backup, the fourth-year NFL player drafted by New England in the 7th round to prove himself. And all things considered, he did pretty well for himself, surpassing expectations. He led New England to an 11-win season and became the first QB in NFL history to record at least 10 wins, 325 completions, a 63% completion mark, 3,600 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 or fewer interceptions, and 200 rushing yards in a single season. This speaks to how loaded that New England team was, as people forget they were as good as crippled by Week 10. They had lost Tom Brady, Rodney Harrison, Lawrence Maroney, and Adalius Thomas to season-ending injuries, and still put up 11 wins. The team totaled up 5,847 yards, which was good for 5th in the league, and were 8th in points per game with 25.6. But somehow, they missed the playoffs, because for once in a lifetime, the AFC East was actually good. The Dolphins went 11-5 in 2008 after finishing 1-15 in 2007, thanks to the Dolphins' use of the Wildcat offense and bringing in Bill Parcells as vice president and Tony Sparano as head coach. The Jets had acquired recently retired and unretired Madden cover athlete and Packer legend Brett Favre. That led them to a 9-7 season, and the Bills, even though they finished 7-9, were 5-1 after Week 7's win over the Chargers. Their season unraveled after QB Trent Edwards was carted off the field after taking a hard hit to the head when his Bills were 4-0 in Week 5. But it still doesn't make sense how New England would miss the playoffs with 11 wins. So here's how it worked. To get a top 4 seed out of the at the time 6 seeds, you had to win your division. Well, even though they and the Dolphins split both regular season games, the Pats lost a tiebreaker due to the Dolphins having a 1-win better conference record. So now New England could only get in as a wild card, seeds 5 and 6. Well, the Colts, who lost their division to the 1 seed 13-3 Titans, claimed the 5 spot with a 12-4 record. So only one lone spot in the playoffs was left, and the Ravens and the Patriots were both 11-5. So it went down to in-conference record, and the Patriots were 7-5 in conference, while the Ravens were 8-4. What a way to miss the playoffs. 11-5 in most years is enough for a first or second seed in the playoffs, but 2008 wasn't most years. The crazy thing is, if they won this one game versus the division rival Jets on Thursday Night Football, they would have finished 12-4 and had the third seed. But after amassing over 500 yards in regulation and a game-tying touchdown with time expiring on the game clock to Randy Moss, the Pats led up a 3rd and 15 to Brett Favre in overtime as the injury-riddled New England defense that ranked 26th in the league on third down left Jet tight end Dustin Keller wide open down the middle of the field. That defense that led up first downs on 44% of the third downs they faced led up another when they needed to clutch up the most. And who knew a random Week 11 loss would cost an 11-5 Patriot team the playoffs? And as for how things went after the 2008 season, Matt Cassel's 2008 was enough for the Kansas City Chiefs to trade an early second-round pick in the upcoming 2009 draft to make him their starting quarterback. They then went on to go 4-12 as Cassel regressed to less than 3,000 yards and threw 16 touchdowns and 16 picks. And Tom Brady was back for New England, but wasn't close to his 2007 form, as he threw for 400 less yards and 14 less touchdowns. And funny enough, New England finished with a 10-6 record, which is worse than the 08 season where Cassel started 15 games. But do you think the Patriots could have went 16-0 again, or at least won the Super Bowl in 2008 had Brady not torn his ACL? Let me know in the comments. But it's been T-Rock. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I'm out. Have a good day. Peace.